Welcome, everybody. This is Mike Alleman with the Alleman Group, Alleman Financial, however you like to know us. We are a major player in the places we love to be with the Alliance and the life insurance space. And man, I'm fired up about tonight because I know that we got like our ace player in the hole going to be talking about some good stuff about products and all that other fun stuff. But do want to remind you that tomorrow, 10 a.m., we have the Fitz Group's large organization, 10 a.m. live on the internet. You'll see it if you're on the 411 channel. The 10 o'clock, we're going to do sales meeting, talk about numbers, and get some great advanced training. So looking forward to that time. And those of y'all that are making it out to family reunion in Burlington, North Carolina, looking forward to seeing everybody out there. And those that aren't, well, I'm sure, hey, I'll let you know. If you don't make it, they might be doing a link for the video. They've done it for a while now, but I'm not sure. But pay attention to the official National Agents Alliance Group Facebook channel because they might be showing some stuff. And I really do hope they show Vanilla Ice and don't get in trouble for broadcasting. That's all I'm saying. It should be fun. But anyway, tonight I have a huge pleasure to get introduced my wife, Michelle. Been married longer than I care to remember because I can't remember that far back. My mind is just like I can't remember life without you. How about that? I know that sounded bad leading into it. That's how you save it. But I can't remember life without you. And I wouldn't want it any other way moving forward. So I'm going to turn this over to you. And I'll be on standby for all technical assistance should you need any. And we'll go from there.
Good deal. Well, good deal. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for taking the time out to be on the call. We got two Sharices here. I love it. I love it. Welcome to the call, Lucas and Juanita, Diane, Michael, Katie. So tonight I just want to go over some basic information. And why do I say it's basic? I think we all need to worry and work on and develop our basics because the basics is what's going to get you to the next level. Always just being very good about the basics. So some of the basics tonight that we're going to talk about is what is the difference between permanent and term. And so many times we get questions from a new agent that relates to these basic questions. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to clearly spell out for you where you need to be selling term and where you need to be selling perm and what products we need to use for those. So it doesn't mean you're going to have all the answers. It doesn't mean you won't have questions. It doesn't mean you won't call me tomorrow and maybe ask that same question in a different way. That's okay. Because every situation is a little bit different and you just got to get better as you have more experience. So what I would encourage you all is to go out and get as much experience as possible. So we're going to start out today. I'm going to just share my screen here. And let me see here. Give me a second.
We did have some technical training right before this call, so I'm hoping it works well.
It said the host has disabled my share screen. So
oh, that's me. Hold on. I'll make you a co-host. Now you can do it. We're getting fancy, y'all. We're sharing the iPad. It's going to be good.
Let's see if it'll come on. Give it just a minute. Well, maybe my iPad disconnected.
I don't know.
Sorry about that, guys. Let me try again. I just had it working. Promise. Sometimes my computer in here just automatically goes to a different network, which it just did that. So here we go again. I may have to unshare and share again. Let me do that. So in the meantime, we're going to have a few different characteristics that we're going to talk about for term and perm. And then how do we figure out what people's needs are? We're going to give you a few ideas on how to do that in the home. So still not working, but I did change it back. It's going to work. There it is. It's promised. It says it's coming. So, but with term policies, okay, just in general, I'm going to go ahead and start talking to you. You're going to have the cheapest form of insurance with a term policy. You're going to need it for a few different reasons, maybe for a debt, maybe for a car note, maybe for a house note, car notes, any kind of debt, any kind of thing that you think that you're not going to need it forever. Don't know why this is happening, but swear it was just working. Anyway, we'll keep going. I'm gonna let Mike work on this while I keep going, and I'll keep talking. So a few different products. So the reason you want to get term is because people can get the insurance as cheap as possible. They're not going to need it forever. So in general, for a mortgage, we're going to go ahead and use a term product. For someone who's older that has a mortgage, for example, a 65-year-old, and they have 30 more years left on their mortgage, we still may use a term, 15-year term product, because they can still get the most amount of coverage today. And they're hoping that their situation will change. And later down the road, probably in 2 to 6 years, you're probably going to be speaking to them again on a review, and you're going to be probably talking to them about converting that to permanent. And what I find is when you do that early and often, keep talking to your customers about stuff like that, then they're not really surprised. They're not mad at you that you sold them something that wasn't forever, because you clearly told them what it was for. And you reminded them why we got this product today is because it's the best product for you today. Okay, so there's top 3 products for term that we are looking at selling, and we recommend you to, is Forester Strong Foundation, Mutual of Omaha, Term Life Express, and Columbian Financial Group, Simplified Issue Term. Why these products? Well, you're going to get paid quickly. They're very easy products to quote. They're very easy applications. You can do e-applications on all of them. Even the technical guys having trouble. Sorry about this, guys. So there's no cash value in temporary insurance. And here's what I try to say. You can use this. You can say, it's like car insurance. If you don't have a wreck, if you don't have a wreck, you don't ever get your money back. So that's what the example I like to use. They're like, oh, okay, I get that, and you're going to pay for it until you don't need it anymore. And it's going to change pricing. If you have a whole bunch of wrecks, you're going to have a really high price. Well, term insurance doesn't change price. You have it a certain number of years for that same price. So it does stay level. So that's a good thing. So anyway, let's go on to permanent insurance. Okay. It is the most expensive, and I will tell people that it's the most expensive. It's like the Mercedes, and the purpose of the insurance is for either final expense. You want to leave a legacy to your family. You want to build a cash accumulation for a retirement. And yes, you can build cash on this type of plan. You can borrow against this type of a plan, and it does build cash. Okay. So those are some of the characteristics of a permanent insurance. Now let's talk about, and we're going to get into a little bit more about how do we get into those conversations with people, because you don't just say, well, what type of insurance do you need? Do you want term or do you want perm? No, you're going to be like the doctor who's asking questions and coming up with a solution for your client. That's what you are. Okay. And so a couple of things about the top 3 products. We've got the top 3 products that I like to sell for final expense: Columbian Financial, CVS, and the third one would be Mutual of Omaha Living Promise. So CVS is the Ascendo final expense product, and this product can be found right on your ARC, and maybe I'll go to that in a minute if we can't get our share screen working. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Tap screen mirroring.
Right.
You're doing it. It's still not working. Okay. Anyway, moving right along. So any questions so far with what we've talked about today? I'm going to stop sharing screen and let's get back on here. So a number of ways. So the CVS product, to quote it is very, very simple. There's 2 ways to quote it, and you can go to the ARC to find that out, but you can go right into the Aetna area under the Medicare, it's under CVS final expense. And you go right there and you log in and you can do a quote there. And there is a second way to do it, and it's called Quotes on the Go. And it is an app on your phone. I'm going to show you. It's the bottom was the purple one. It says Quotes on the Go. And it's Aetna, and it's a free application. And I personally like to use that one in the home. But you can log into the Aetna site and do it there too. When you're logged into the Aetna site from the ARC, you're going to be able to switch right over and start that e-app. So I think Megan loves to do it that way because she likes to just go right on and do the e-app. Either way works. Okay, so the Columbian Financial Group is also an e-app. Very simple to do. Do it right off the ARC. And the thing I like about Mutual of Omaha Living Promise, you also have the e-app, but you can also use DocuSign with Mutual of Omaha. So if you need to, something's happening. Okay, we're screen sharing. I think someone's on my computer.
It's me. No, it's me.
Thank you. All right. So Megan's showing us how to go on to the CVS area. And when you go into the carriers, you're going to go to CVS, and then it's bringing you right to this Aetna login, which you're going to go ahead and log in. Now, something important about this, you have to be on Chrome. So if you're in the home and you're using an iPad, you cannot be on Safari. It's just not going to work. Trust me, I've tried that. Okay. So it's permanent insurance. You can borrow against it. The final expense, small final expense plans are not made to be a retirement plan. They're just made to be a death benefit. They're going to build a little bit of cash, but not a whole lot. Okay. Just keep that in mind. You're not trying to retire people on a final expense product. It's a little $10,000 death benefit, a $15,000 death benefit. What Megan is doing, she put the zip code in, the state, the date of birth, and the effective date, male, female, and yes or no for tobacco. Then you're going to go to the product. The product is called the Ascendo Insurance Company, Final Expense. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look at the preferred level price. Now, sometimes if you have a question that's a yes question, for example, if they're on insulin, then they're probably going to be the standard plan. And you can look at the application questions. And the way to do that is just to fill out an application on someone that you make up. Okay. You can just make up, you can put your name and you can put another age, and you won't ever submit the application. But then I would recommend you save that application in your file so you can always see what the questions are. And if you're curious whether your customer will qualify for standard or preferred, then now Megan is starting the enrollment. So she went ahead and said yes, and she put that preferred plan in, and she hit start enrollment. And here we go with the health questions, heart failure, are you in a hospital, all those kind of things. Megan, do you want to talk? I mean, I was going to show them a couple other things, but you're obviously going to a few places.
No, I'm good. If you just tell me where you want to go and I'll go there.
Well, a couple of things I was going to do with sharing my screen is I've got a couple of things that I have put together that kind of helps people figure out how to talk about this in the home. And one of them, they're acronyms. One of them is called, and you can write this down on a sheet of paper, LIFE. It spells life. Okay? Write it straight down. And I do this in front of people. I say, now, why do you need insurance for your whole life? Do you know why? And I'll write that down. And then they'll go, I don't know why. Tell me why. I said, well, the number one, you know what the L is for? And I'll tell them, and I'll write it out, loans. This is for if you have a mortgage and you pass away unexpectedly. You need your loan taken care of so your family can stay in the home, right? What is the I for? And they'll say, I don't know. And then I'll write down income replacement. And so that is like, let's say they're 35 or 45 and they've got a 10-year-old at home. They still have 10 more years of income that they need to take care of that child till that child is grown, correct? So, and I would ask them another question, what's your yearly income? And they might say 100,000 a year. And I'll say, okay, so that's you could get up to $1 million. Now, I'm not saying you should right now, but just think about that for a minute. We're just going to try to get you a starter plan today. But the F is for final expense. So when you pass away, you have something to take care of your final expenses. And the E is for education. So if your kids are not grown, you've got a college fund to take care of them in case you pass away unexpectedly. So then this gives you a way to really kind of roll back into a plan for them. And most of these folks, if you're working on mortgage leads, you're going to get them started with the temporary term insurance. But then you're going to call them in a few days. I mean, not a few days. I'm going to email this to you, Megan. And this is we're going to go into the lottery ticket story. And maybe you'll be able to share that note that I put together from Notability. And this is how it's on page 3, but it's basically, it's on page 2, but it's how I draw it out for the customer. So this is a conversion sales tip for you. Okay. I'll ask them, Ms. Smith, let me just, we're talking about your term policy, and we're talking about, I'm explaining to them and showing them how in 18 more years, the price is going to go from $50 a month to $500 a month. and they're not going to be able to afford it. So we need to think about some other options, because do they feel like they're going to live past age 70? And I'll start out with that question. I'll say, what are your chances of living past age 70? And I haven't written any of this down yet. Okay. And a lot of times they'll say 70% chance. Okay. Say, okay, let me just explain to you how a permanent insurance would help. Okay. And the difference. So let's say you go into the convenience store and you buy a lottery ticket. Do you ever buy lottery tickets? And they'll say, yeah, all the time. So, and then you say, okay, what do you think your chances of living past age 70? And they'll say 70%. So I'll put lottery ticket A and lottery ticket B. So your chances of living are 70%. Lottery ticket A, that's your term policy that you have today. Okay. And if you make it past, age 70, or whatever age that policy goes up for them, that might be age 70, it might be age 60, but in this case, it's age 70. Your cost is going to, your cost on that policy is $100 a month, right? Now, let's say you convert to a permanent policy, $100,000. The cost is double. Okay, it is what it is. It's permanent insurance. Okay, but let me ask you this: if you went into the convenience store and you had a choice, and you knew your chance of winning was 30% for lottery ticket A and 100% for lottery ticket B, which ticket would you purchase today? That's a closing question. And then you're just going to shut up. You're going to totally shut up. Ticket B. Yeah, and that's what everybody says, ticket B. Now, ticket B might not be affordable right now. Okay, so you may have to deal with that. So here's a couple of ways to deal with that. Now, if you can't afford ticket B, here's another option. And maybe you can write this down, Megan. $50,000, if not, it's $50,000 death benefit would only cost $100 a month, but you still have that 100% chance of winning. And in the meantime, you could keep the other 50,000 that you currently have. You currently have 100,000 term. You could keep another 50,000 in term for maybe, $50 a month. So you could do that, or you could just get the 50,000 for $100 a month. Which one would you prefer? Which one would you prefer? And that's it, guys. You're getting them to think about it in a whole different way. And it's a great way to convert your existing business, and you'll get paid on conversions, or you're writing a permanent policy. So
can you convert from a whole life to a term? Say the person's really young. Would you want to do that? Or
great
from
question.
a children's policy?
So yes. Yes, that's a great question. Can you convert a young person's policy from a term to a perm? Yes, you can. And with foresters, and that's why we love to write foresters strong foundation term policies, especially on younger people, because after 24 months, they are now eligible for their preferred conversion option. What does that mean? Preferred conversion option. Miss Smith, I just called to let you know I need to go over some new benefits that are available for you. Now that you've had this policy for 24 months, you are eligible for the preferred conversion option. And what that means is you have the ability to convert this policy convert to a permanent insurance with zero medical questions. So no underwriting. Let's say they've had a heart attack, or let's say they've gotten cancer. They can absolutely convert it. It converts at the age today at the price today. So it's simply a conversion application, which is 2 pages. There are no medical questions. There's just a signature and a couple of pieces of information on how much you're converting. You can do a partial or a full conversion, and you will get full comp on a conversion. So if they don't have a strong foundation and you just want to get them into a permanent policy, you can just write an additional policy. And if they decide later that they don't want to keep their term, they can just stop the draft and that policy will lapse out. And a lot of insurance, trust me, a lot of insurance companies know that people lapse their term policies at some point. As a matter of fact, insurance companies really don't want their term policies on the books for more than 8 or 10 years, because then it's a bigger chance that that the person will collect, right? So.
Oh, right.
Does that make sense, Sharon?
Yes, it does. It makes perfect sense. I'm going to be taking my daughter's whole life to a term, not to a term, but I don't know what to do because, I'm
old is your
thinking about
daughter?
adding a term. She's 22, and she has had this policy for like 5 years. She just needs to increase it. Would that be go ahead.
I would recommend, so when my kids turned 15 and 16 and 17, they all had I think a $500,000 term. It was very, very cheap. But then I got them all $150,000 permanent cash accumulation plan. And now I think Megan has turned that into maybe a 400,000 or
what?
She's turned it in. She's written more of those permanent plans that build cash.
Yeah.
Because she's using it as a savings vehicle for her retirement.
Yes.
And
that's what we're going to do. Yeah.
So you just stack the policies on top of each other, Sharon, rather than trying to increase that specific stack up.
Yeah. Okay. Got you.
So y'all understand, I wanted to show you, and you feel free to screenshot. We can put that conversion sales tip back on the screen. Feel free to screenshot that, because later you're going to be going, how did she explain it? What did she say? And what was the final closing question? Those 3 things are really important, because trust me, I went back and said, how do I do this again? Because someone else told me, and then I'm training other people. And so I explain it this way. And sometimes you have to go through it a few times with people before they understand it. But this is the best way that I'm able to show it to them on a piece of paper. Okay. And it's really important when you're sitting across the kitchen table from people, you become an expert when you just know a little bit more than they do. You don't have to know everything. So these 2 things, the life example, and if you're doing a conversion, or if you're talking to someone who has a term that maybe they've had it for 5 years or more, and you're looking at it and you're actually doing a policy review. Maybe it's not even a policy that you wrote, but a question that you need to ask them is, what was the intent of the policy when you purchased it? Okay, what was the intent of the policy when you purchased it? So let's say they purchased it 10 years ago, and they purchased it for a mortgage. Okay, so now we're 10 years into that policy. So now what you're going to ask them is, now you're going to ask them questions about their mortgage. So how much is your mortgage now? How much is outstanding on your mortgage today? How many years left do you have on the mortgage? So maybe this was a 20-year term and they're 10 years into it, but maybe they've refinanced their home 3 times since then. And maybe they have a bigger mortgage, and maybe it's 30 years. So maybe they now need to stack another policy, another 100,000 for 30 years. Or maybe they have 20 years left on their mortgage, but their term policy only has 10 years left. So what do they need to do in that case, Sharon or anyone? If they have 10 years left on their term policy, but a 20-year mortgage, what do they need?
10 more years. At
So
least
they need a new 20-year term, or they need an additional some amount of term policies to carry them over for that extra 10 years that they need now. So that's why you do policy reviews. Even you're reviewing a policy, you got to ask them two basic questions. What was the original intent? And the second question, where does that stand? So you don't ask them where does that stand, but you ask them questions that are going to give you the answer. Like if it was for the mortgage, what is the current value of the mortgage and how many years do you have left? If they've paid off the mortgage, then maybe what they need to do is put money into more of a cash accumulation retirement plan. And maybe they don't really need the term plan anymore because it's not going to be valuable if they outlive it. So maybe you switch to and talk about, retirement. How's your retirement going? Are you saving as much as you want to? If you could save more, if I could show you a way where you didn't have to pay taxes on your retirement, would you be interested in seeing that? So,
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
So that's pretty much all I got for tonight. It's 8:03. Any other questions? Well, guys, we appreciate your time. I appreciate you being on the call. If you take one thing and turn it into a sale this week, let us know how you did that for next Tuesday. We'd like to hear from you next week, next Monday, not next Tuesday. We'd like to hear from you next week. And I'm looking forward to hear about everybody's success on the sales meeting tomorrow. And looking forward to being on the sales meeting. So we'll see y'all then. Thanks, Megan, for all your help.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Bye.
Megan. Thanks, Michelle. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.